the last video, we said working capital is the cash trapped in your operating cycle, the gap between spending money and getting it back. That raises the obvious next question. How long is that gap? How many days does your cash actually spend trapped? That number has a name, the cash conversion cycle, and it's one of the most useful and most ignored numbers in finance. The short version? It measures the days between when you pay your suppliers and when your customers pay you. It's a timer on your operating cycle. And if you make physical products, that timer runs longer than you'd think. For Redline, our reconciled manufacturer, it's 122 days, over 4 months from paying suppliers to collecting cash. Let's build that number, then learn to read it. The cash conversion cycle answers one question. If I pay a supplier today for raw materials, how many days until I collect from the customer who buys the finished product? Simple question, but answering it means tracking cash through 3 stages, and most businesses only watch 2. You buy materials on terms, so a clock starts. The materials sit as inventory, raw, then work in process, then finished goods. Eventually they ship. Eventually the customer pays. The formula puts it together. CCC equals days inventory outstanding plus days sales outstanding minus days payable outstanding. DIO plus DSO minus DPO. Add how long inventory sits and how long customers take, then subtract how long your suppliers let you wait. 3 numbers. Let's take them one at a time. First, how long inventory sits before it sells? Days inventory outstanding, DIO. Inventory divided by cost of goods per day. Redline holds about $23 million in inventory and runs through roughly $316,000 of cost a day, which gives about 72 days. One flag before we go on. We're measuring against Redline's current run rate, not last year's slower reported numbers. And we'll hold that basis the whole way through. In a manufacturer, that single number hides 3 problems, because inventory is really 3 things: raw materials, work in process, and finished goods. Raw materials are cash you spent too early. Work in process is cash stuck mid-build. Finished goods are cash spent on a sale that hasn't happened yet. Redline's steady state target is 65 days, 7 tighter than today. And at $316,000 a day, closing that gap is about $2.2 million in cash, sitting where it doesn't need to be. Next, how long customers take to pay. Days sales outstanding, DSO. Receivables divided by revenue per day. 36 million in receivables over about 452,000 a day of revenue. 80 days. Whew. Here's what 80 days really means. Every one of them, you're an unsecured lender to your customer. You shipped the product, you paid for the materials and the labor and the overhead, and your customer is holding your cash, interest-free, for 80 days. In manufacturing, that's not optional. Distributors and retail chains expect terms. The question isn't whether you extend credit, it's whether you're managing it. Bring DSO from 80 down to 75, just 5 days, and at $452,000 a day, that's $2.25 million back in the business. And notice these stack. 72 days on the shelf, then 80 more to collect. You're 5 months in before we credit the one thing working in your favor. Is how long you take to pay your own suppliers. Days payable outstanding, DPO. It works in reverse. With DSO and DIO, longer is worse. With DPO, longer is better, because every day you hold your cash before paying is a day your supplier finances you for free. It's the only one of the 3 you subtract. Redline's DPO is 30 days, standard net 30. And here's the interesting part. It's not stretching payables at all. A company with a 122-day cycle could free real cash by pushing payments to 45 or 60 days. Redline chooses not to. Why? Because in a manufacturing supply chain, supplier relationships are worth more than a few days afloat. Stretch too far, and suppliers demand cash on delivery, raise prices, or put you last when capacity is tight. DPO is a lever, and choosing not to yank it is a real decision. It also means every day of DSO or DIO improvement falls straight through. Now put all three on one timeline. Day 0, you buy materials. For the first 30 days, your supplier's money funds it. On day 30, you pay them, and now it's your cash. The inventory sells around day 72, and the customer pays about 80 days after that. 72 plus 80 minus the 30 your supplier covered, 122 days. That's the cash conversion cycle. And it's not a bad number. It's a manufacturing number. Compare a consulting firm. No inventory, clients pay in 30, staff paid every 2 weeks. A cash cycle around 15 days. A cash retailer with supplier terms can even run negative, collecting before it pays. Manufacturing runs long because atoms have to move before dollars can. Here's what it means for the operator. At $452,000 a day of revenue and about $316,000 a day of cost, every day of the cycle is real cash. Hitting the steady state target, 122 down to 110, frees roughly $4.5 million. That's not accounting. That's a capital raise you didn't have to do. So how do you read 122? The absolute number matters less than the trend. A cycle that's healthy for a heavy equipment maker would be a disaster for a food distributor. Context is everything. But a cycle that's rising, quarter over quarter, is a problem in any industry. A rising CCC means cash is getting trapped faster than it's freed. DSO creeping up, inventory drifting higher, or DPO shrinking. Any one is worth investigating. All three at once is a crisis. A falling cycle is the opposite. The same revenue supported by less cash. The engine of self-funded growth, which is exactly why private equity owners obsess over this line. And watch what growth does. Before Redline's expansion, the cycle was about 110 days. Growth stretched it to 122. 12 extra days of trapped cash just from getting bigger. Grow at 20% and your working capital needs grow with you. A rising cycle is an early warning worth catching. The cash conversion cycle is worth watching because it doesn't lie. Revenue can be pulled forward and margins can be dressed up, but the CCC measures something physical. How many days for a dollar spent to become a dollar collected? For Redline, 122. 80 waiting on customers, 72 holding inventory, minus 30 of supplier terms. It also turns "we're tight on cash" into 3 fixable levers, each measured in days, and every day you take off the cycle is cash handed back. Next time you read a set of financials, calculate the CCC, then calculate it for the same quarter a year earlier. If the gap is widening, find out why. Next, in foundations, we ask whether a company carrying a cycle this long can actually cover its bills. That's liquidity, the current and quick ratios. And to watch a team fight over these exact levers with a board watching, that's playlist 1. Every number here ties to the dollar. See you in the next one.